Welcome to Sports Talk with RJ. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio, and it is Championship Game Sunday, and we got the Patriots, got Justin's Patriots in the AFC Championship game, having a surprise season, winning the AFC East, and then getting to the Conference Championship game. And Justin, how surprised? I want to ask you this first before we get into the game. How surprised are you that they made the AFC, that they are playing the AFC Championship game this Sunday? Seeing where you thought the team was going to be before the season.
Yeah, so before the year, I kind of thought they were a 9-win team probably, and maybe that sneaks them in, but I didn't think it was gonna go much farther than that. So, it's been a huge surprise to see how Mays looked, how Vrabel's gotten so much out of this roster, which I've kind of talked about a couple times. Like, it's not a, it's not a would think kind of Super Bowl tier roster to win it. But yeah, the way Vrabel was able to turn this thing around as quickly as he has. I know the schedule definitely helps, but for tacking on more wins than they have. But it definitely helps too that the Chiefs aren't here. You don't have Joe Burrow, the Bengals. Like you don't have some of the quarterbacks that you thought would be sitting still in the playoffs around. But yeah, it's been a pleasant surprise, and I don't think anybody thought it was to be New England or Denver. So I am pretty surprised that they've gotten this far. I was hoping maybe they sneak in as a wild card, maybe they win a game, but I didn't think it'd go much farther than that.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be like a 9 win team. Be in the hunt. I expected them to be in the hunt. I didn't expect them to be like terrible, like
Mhm.
4 wins like they've been the last 2 years. But I expected them to be in the hunt. I expected them to be in the hunt. But as the season kind of evolved, especially when they won that Tampa game, I felt like okay, they're 7-2. They're I think 7-8-2. They're 8-2. They're now to me a Super Bowl contender. And then they because winning that game the Buffalo win was big in Week 5. The Buffalo win was big because if they lost that game, Buffalo would have been 5-0. They would have been 2-3, so they would have been 3 games behind them. They ended up getting a game behind them, and then Buffalo lost the next week, so they ended up being in first place. And really, since Week 6, Buffalo never got back into first. So I thought they had that 10-game winning streak. Drake May, I thought he was going to have a good year. I definitely didn't expect him to have this kind of year. And this defense, and some of the guys, they picked up. Milton Williams when he's been on the field, he's been really good. Robert Spillane has been really good. He's played really well on this defense. So I think some of the free agent moves, Travion Henderson has turned out to be a great pick. Even though Will Campbell has struggled in the postseason, he's been good for most of the season. So yeah, I am surprised that they're here. I'm more surprised they're here than the Broncos. I thought the Broncos with Sean Payton would have a chance to get here. With Bo Nix, I know Bo Nix isn't going to. Obviously, Bo Nix is out, but with Bo Nix in year 2, I'm not as surprised as the Broncos. I am definitely more surprised about the Patriots. But it just shows you, Mike, that the coaching change was the right move. Mike Vrabel's done a great job. Elliott Wolf's deserves credit too. He's done a really, really good job of putting this team together. I mean, with what he did in free agency, getting the Harold Landry's, Robert Spillane, Milton Williams, getting those guys in free agency, and then in the draft, Will Campbell and Travion Henderson, and Stephon Diggs. So Elliott Wolf's done a really good job putting this team together. So for me, yes, I am surprised, because I thought this would be, again, like a 9-win team that might sneak into the playoffs, but they've definitely surprised me playing in the AFC Championship game and being favored in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely surprising, especially the way the year started, where they lose to Vegas, and I'm like, man, this is probably a 5-win team again. Like my expectations went down the drain, and I should have gave it more than 1 week, and then you pulled out the game against Miami week 2, and then you turn the ball over 5 times against Pittsburgh, and you're 1-2. It's kind of like you don't like you're not feeling great about the season, and then pretty much since week 4, they've turned around and they played great football ever since. So yeah, it's definitely surprising. Vrabel's done a great job, and yeah, Drake May. I definitely did not think he was to be sitting here. I don't think he's going to win MVP because Stafford got first team
All pro.
all conference, so all pro. So I don't think I think May's going to finish runner up, but still, I didn't think Drake May was going to be sitting in this position. So, future's definitely really bright. Win or lose this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned it. The first 3 games, yeah, when they were 1-2, you thought this team, all right, maybe the question is, are they even really going to stay in the hunt? Week 4, they crushed Carolina, they beat Buffalo, and then they took off and won 10 straight. So yeah, New England's in a really good place, and they're favored going into this game, and the biggest reason why, obviously, is because Bo Nix is out. Now, getting into the AFC Championship game between these two teams, between the Patriots and Broncos, and I'll start with you And we'll start with the Patriots, and I'll start with you, Justin. What do the Patriots have to do to get to the Super Bowl? What do the Patriots have to do to get their first Super Bowl in 8 years?
Number one for me is May's got to hold on the football. We've seen kind of a fumbling problem here. You're going to be against the back quarterback, a really good defense. Don't give him extra possession or two. That's my first one. Second one is you should have some success running the football against this team. So we're in down the throats, pick up a couple yards, be able to use play action, get it to third and shorts because they do have a really good pass rush. And to my third key is the offensive line needs to play a lot better this week than it has the first 2 weeks because I think this Denver team had even more sacks than the Texans did during the regular season. This offensive line has not played great so far the first 2 weeks. This is another really tough test for them up front, and they have to show up as well because they have some great passers as well at the edge. So the offensive line's got to show up this week because the last 2 games May's been sacked 5 times with both of them. He's not gonna keep surviving if he gets hit 5-6 times yet again.
Yeah, your 3 keys are my 3 keys. Yeah, I mean, first, yeah, I mean, no. Actually, 2 of the 3 are mine. Yeah, you brought it up with Drake May. I mean, protecting the football. I mean, I won't even count that pick before the half. 4 turnovers in his last 2 games. Yeah, that's a way they could lose this game. I mean, I know they're facing a backup quarterback, but that's a way they could lose by turning the ball over. So yeah, Drake May is definitely got to protect the ball. The run game is crucial. The run game of Stevenson and Henderson, that is crucial on Sunday because you saw the Bills were able to run on. James Cook had a really good game against them, so the Bills were able to run on them. The run game is crucial, not because you don't want to make that pass rush a factor. You don't want to make that pass rush of Nick Bonino, Zach Allen, Connecticut's own Zach Allen, New Canaan guy, and Jonathan Cooper. You don't want to make that pass rush to become a factor in the game. You absolutely don't. And then for me, my third one is get pressure on Jarrett Stidham. Get pressure on Stidham. They've done a really good job the last 2 weeks getting pressure on the quarterback. Blitzing. I told you after the Texans scored that first touchdown, they got to start sending some pressure. They did, and it worked. So I think they got to blitz. They got to blitz Stidham a lot because K'Von Chase had a pretty good game on Sunday. He's not going to have that same kind of game because the Broncos got 2 All-Pro. They got an All-Pro left tackle in Garrett Bowles. They have a pretty good right tackle Mike McGlinchey, and they got an All-Pro guard as well. So their offensive line is the best offensive line in football. So they're going to have to blitz Jarrett Stidham. They're going to have to blitz him. So for me, my 3 keys are, get pressure on Stidham, get the run game going, and Drake has got to protect the football.
Yeah, you brought up a couple good ones, and yeah, the defensive pressure has been good the last couple weeks. But yeah, as you mentioned, this is a Charger team offensively on the offensive line that's banged up, a Houston offensive line that hasn't been great all year. This is the best one he faced, and we've seen against when they've faced some pretty good old lines. They've struggled to get to the quarterback, so that's definitely a big one because you would love to get Cinnamon hasn't played a lot of football this year, obviously being a backup, so you can get after him early, give him some happy feet. Yeah, if that pass rush could be a difference, that'd be huge.
Getting pressure on Stidham is huge. Now we'll get into what the Broncos got to do to get to the Super Bowl for the first time since they won Super Bowl 50. And the last 2 times they got to the Super Bowl, they beat the Patriots to get there at home. So we'll see if they can do it. We'll see if they can do it a third time. But number one for me, it's been their bread and butter all season long. Get pressure on the quarterback. Get pressure on Drake May. They did it to Josh Allen last week, and it affected him. Get pressure on Drake May. That's number 1. Number 2, the defense got to force turnovers. I think the biggest reason why they beat the Bills was they forced 5 turnovers, and key turnovers too. So when in the first half, when the Bills were trying to go up 2 scores, they forced a fumble. They forced the James Cook fumbles. They forced a fumble. Then right before the half, they forced a fumble on Josh Allen. They forced Josh Allen to fumble. So it is crucial. And then obviously, I know it was controversial, but they did force a turnover at the end of that game, even though I personally thought it was a catch. They forced a turnover at the end of that game too. So yeah, they got the Bills. They have to. The Broncos. They have to force turnovers in this game because I don't think Jarrett Stidham's gonna be able to score a bunch of points on this New England defense. So short fields are crucial for the Broncos in this game. And then number 3, Sean Payton has got to be creative. He's got to be creative. He's got to run some trick plays. He's got to be creative. He's got to be a difference maker in this game. I think the Broncos do have the coaching advantage with Sean Payton, but he's got to have one of his best games if he wants Jarrett Stidham to beat this defense. The way this defense is playing, the way the Patriots defense is playing, that's really well. Sean Payton has got to create some trick plays, get this Patriots defense off balance in this game. So that is crucial. So for me, the keys to the Bronco win: pressure on Drake May, defense has got to force turnovers, and Sean Payton's got to be creative. Justin, I know you'll be rooting against the Broncos on Sunday, but what are your keys to them for winning this game?
Yeah, for me, I have one of your three keys I have as well is that's the forced turnover. Denver defense got to force turnovers this week because yeah, Patriots have turned it over a couple times so far in the postseason, and the backup quarterback, if he's short in the field, um, would be huge for that offense, Jarrett Stidham. So yeah, that was number one for me was the turnover. Number two, I know the defense forced a bunch of turnovers last week, but I felt like the Bills had you mentioned that they could not stop the running game last week. And I feel like the Bills receivers were running wide open most of that game. Their defense has to play better this week. And I felt like the last couple weeks towards the end of the year, their defense wasn't playing as well as it was beginning. So this is a week where the defense really has to step up, especially with the backup quarterback in there. My third one is Jarrett Stidham's got to protect the football. Obviously, the Pats have, a lot of those were CJ Stroud's kind of own doing last week with some of those balls he thrown, but you also don't want to turn the ball over 3-4 times in this one. Where you put your defense in bad spots. So yeah, for me, Denver's got to force turnovers. Defense has to show up this week, and then Stadium's got to protect the football.
Yeah, good point about Stidham having to protect the ball because if he doesn't, if he turns the ball over, it's gonna be a long day for the Broncos. The Broncos got to play this game to their defense. They got kind of similar how they beat the Patriots years ago. They have to win a low score. They have to win kind of a low scoring game. They got to win a game where they score in the high 20s and the Patriots score in the teens. They're not going to be able to. There's no way, Jarrett. The Patriots gave up on Jarrett Stidham, and rightfully so. So there's no way they're going to be able to go back and forth with Drake May. They're going to have to. They're going to have to play to their defense, the Broncos, and Stidham is going to have to protect the ball. That's the only way they're going to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because that game from a decade ago now, a little bit over a decade ago. I think Brady was sacked in that one 9 times.
A lot of times. He was sacked a lot. I don't think it was 9, but it was a lot. It was a lot. He was sacked.
It was a lot. It felt like every play he was getting sacked. So yeah, the Denver defense needs to show up like they did that week. And believe it or not, the Patriots did actually want to re-sign Jarrett Stidham to be their backup this year, but Denver did enough to keep him. So, Patriots did, I know it's a new regime than the one that drafted him, but the Patriots were interested in bringing him back this offseason. But yeah, they can't get in a shootout. It'd be great if the Patriots can get up and down and make this thing a shootout, but I see being a difficult task going against that Denver defense because I do think they're play better. So, yeah, defensive game. I think that, without Bo Nix, I still feel good, but with how good that defense has played and with how our offensive line has not played great the last couple weeks, I am still very worried about this game.
Now let's get into our predictions. Let's get into our predictions for the game, and I'll start here. I think this game is going to be a competitive game. A lot of people are writing the Broncos off. They shouldn't be. They got the better roster. I know Vrabel's really great as well, but they got the better coach too, and the better roster, and they're at home. I know they have Jarrett Stidham as a quarterback, so a lot of people are writing the Broncos off in this game. I think it's going to be close and competitive. I think it is. I think the difference in this game is going to be I think Drake May is going to protect the ball. I think he is going to protect the ball, and I do think that Pats defense is going to blitz and force a couple turnovers from Jarrett Stidham, and I think that's going to be the difference in the game. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game, but I think the Patriots take advantage of the Broncos' turnovers. In a low-scoring game, I'm going to have the Patriots winning this one and getting to another Super Bowl. I got the Patriots winning this game 24-17 over. Patriots win it 24-17 over the Broncos. And Justin, do you have your Patriots getting back to the Super Bowl for the first time in 8 years?
I do. I have them 23-20. I do think Sims will keep them in it. I do think, Denver's defense will force turnover too, but I do think because without Bo Nix, that May plays better than Jarrett Stidham. They do hit a couple big plays that are enough here to win the football game. I think their running game, is has a pretty good game on the ground, and I think Sean Payton's going to be creative. I know that was one of your points. I do think he'd be pretty creative. I think their offense will move the ball a bit, but I think the Patriots do a little bit more offensively here. They do pull it out and be the first time that Patriots go to Denver in the playoffs will win because they are 0-4 all time. Yeah, I think they've only beat them once.
They're 0 4.
And that was a Tebow game.
The, they beat them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was at home. The Tebow game
Yeah,
was
that
at
was in
home.
Foxborough.
That was in Foxborough.
That's the
So
only one they won.
I remember
They're 0-4, I think.
I think 0-3 because they lost in
In
05.
0-3.
I remember them losing in 05 in Denver. Then they lost the 2013 and the 2015 AFC Championship game. So I don't know if there may have been another game somewhere in maybe the 70s or maybe the 80s or something. There might have been another game there, but for my memory, they're 0-3 in Denver. So yeah, it would be their first. There would be their first time they would win a game in
Yeah,
Denver.
80. Yeah. 87, 06, 2014, 2016. So
Oh, so
87 they
they
got him.
lost there
Never got
at
him.
87. Okay. So
Yeah.
0-4. So yeah. So yeah,
Divisional round.
Divisional round. Yeah. So after they got to the Super Bowl in 85, they lost to 86, and that was then the Denver played the Giants in the Super Bowl that year. So yeah, I think this game's gonna. I think you look at the rosters. Denver definitely has the better roster. You look at the coach. I know Blake Vrabel's been great, but I think Denver's got the better coach. But it ultimately comes down to the quarterback. You got an MVP level quarterback. An MVP level quarterback gets a backup. It's very, very hard for me to pick a guy who's played MVP level football, a quarterback. I know they're on the road. It's very hard for me to pick a guy who's played MVP level football versus a guy who's a backup in the league. And a guy that the Patriots had and got rid of. So it's just very hard for me to do that. So that's why I'm taking the Pats here. And who would have thought? Who would have thought in the beginning of the season that we'd be sitting here talking about the Pats in the AFC Championship game and talking about a game where the Pats are favored to win the AFC Championship game? Who would have thought that?
Yeah, no, yeah, it's wild. Never did not think that this year was gonna end with this opportunity. So yeah, it's been a special year. The future's bright. To be hard to kind of follow this up next year. But yeah, to get there in year two would be huge for this team and this group. So yeah, I'm excited for it. And we'll see, if they can get this thing done. But I do worry because the revenge game for Stidham. He would love to knock out New England in the playoffs. So we'll see. But I am worried, and I'm worried because Sean Payton is such a great offensive mind, and I do worry, but I do think they pull it out in a close one.
Yeah, I think the Patriots do. I think the Patriots get to the Super Bowl, pull this one out. Yeah, Sean Payton, they're going to give him a game. I expect the Broncos to give him a game. And if Bo Nix is playing, I'd probably take the Broncos here. But without Bo Nix, I'm going Pats here. I'm going Pats to get back to their first Super Bowl since 2018. The funny thing is if the Pats do win the AFC Championship game, it would be either a rematch of 2013 against the Seahawks, or no 2014, against the Seahawks, or a rematch of 2001 and 2018 against the Rams, and the Patriots won both of those Super Bowls because the Rams and Seahawks face off in the NFC Championship game. Seahawks were dominant against the 49ers, and the Rams, have squeaked by their two opponents on the road. They got by the Panthers. Surprisingly, they got by the Panthers. That was a surprise. I thought that game was going to be a blowout, and then they beat the Bears in overtime last week. And this is a rubber match of this is the third meeting between these two teams. This is round 3 between the Seahawks and the Rams. The first game, that one went to the Seahawks, the Rams, 21-19. Sam Darnold threw 4 picks. Second game, that one went to the Seahawks. That was one of the best games of the year, that Thursday night game. One of the best games of the year. The Rams were up 30-14 in the fourth quarter, and the Seahawks had the Shaheed. And Shaheed's been a really good pickup. The kick return, and then Darnold, led the drive to tie the game, and then the Seahawks ended up winning that game 38-37, one of the best games of the year. So it is round 3 between these two teams, and before we pick who we think is going to win this game, we're going to talk about what do these teams need to do to win this game. And I'm going to start with the Rams, and I'm going to start and for me for the Rams to win this game, for the Rams, they got to get pressure on Sam Darnold. For me, I think it's imperative to get pressure on Darnold with that front four, get pressure on him, force him to make mistakes. Sam Darnold has, he has 6 picks against the Rams this year, 6 interceptions. He didn't play well against the Rams in the playoff game last year. Sam Darnold has really struggled against the Rams, and I think a big reason for that is they've been able to get pressure on him. So get pressure on Sam Darnold. Number 2 for the Rams, contain their run game. Do not let their run game be a factor. Make Sam Darnold beat you. Make Sam Darnold beat you in this big game. Contain that running game, because San Francisco definitely didn't do it. Seattle's had a lot of success. They're going to have Charbonnet out this game, so it's going to be all on Kenneth Walker. So contain the running game. The Rams do have a pretty good run defense. And then they got to protect Stafford. I think a big reason why that Bears game was close is they did not do a good job protecting Matthew Stafford. They gave up 4 sacks, and there was a lot of times on the right side of that line, that right side of the line collapsed, especially when there were twice where the Bears brought Jaquan Brisker on a blitz, and that killed 2 of the Rams' drives because they couldn't protect on the right side of the line. They have got to do a better job protecting Matthew Stafford in this game. If they don't, they're not going to win this game. They got 4 sacks to a team that did not have a great defensive line, and there were blitzes that they weren't picking up too. So the Rams' offensive line did not have a good game against the Bears. I think that was the reason why that Bears game was as close as it was. So they have to protect Matthew Stafford better. So my 3 keys to the Rams winning: get pressure on Darnold, contain their run game, and protect Stafford. Justin, what are your 3 keys on the Rams winning?
You have 2 of the 3 of yours here, and I'll start with your last one. Is they got to protect Sam Darnold? 'Cause, I mean, they got the Rams have to protect Matthew Stafford because yeah, you're right. The Bears got a lot of pressure on him last week, and it was kind of surprising how many times they hit him. Stafford didn't play great, but didn't help his offensive line played shaky, in the Seattle defense that's really really good. So that that's my number one. Number two, for LA is the pass rush needs to show up. Because yeah, we mentioned it. Sam Darnold has been great in the playoffs. The Rams got after him last year in the playoffs. They didn't, and who knows how healthy Darnold is. I know, with the calf injury, I know it wasn't a problem last week because they didn't really need him to do much because they got out to such impressive lead. But this week, who knows if he could scramble well or not. So that's a huge one. My last one is keep Jackson Smith at Jigba in check because he's almost at 800, 180. He almost has 2,000 yards receiving on the year. Cooper Kupp's second on the team with 593. Jackson Smith and Nick Jigba has 119 receptions on the year, and AJ Barner's second on the team with 52. Smith and Jigba has been their big target all year. That's been their number one guy. Make sure somebody else beats you with that on that receiving core. Don't be the reason you lose the game because Jackson Smith and Jigba goes off on you.
Yeah, that's a good point about Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I liked your point about Sam Darnold. You really didn't know how healthy he really was, as oblique is, because the Seahawks didn't have to do that much in the game. The 49ers turned right off the bat. He took the kickoff to the house to start the game. And the funny thing is, the game was pretty much over when that happened because really the Niners they turned the ball over another time. So it's 17-0 before you could blink. And really, you really didn't know how much Sam Darnold could do in that game. So yeah, getting pressure on him is a humongous key in this game for the Rams. That's a huge key to them winning this game.
Yeah. Yeah, it absolutely is because if that oblique's not healthy and he really can't scramble and he's more of a pocket passer, the Rays can kind of tee off on him. You don't have to worry about him scrambling. Then it could be a really long day for Darnold, and maybe you get him to throw a couple bad balls in this one. He does struggle, so I'm interested to find out how healthy he is. Because you're right, we didn't really get to see that all last week because that thing was over very very quickly last week.
Yeah, it was. Oh, it was. They beat up a banged up Niner team in the divisional round. So now we'll go to what the Seahawks got to do to win this game. And for me, got to get the run game going with Kenneth Walker. I know they're going to have Charbonnet out, but you got to get the run game going with Kenneth Walker. It was a reason why they won the first game. It's a reason why they've really had success. They've had a lot of success. They were able to run the football. So got to get that run game going with Kenneth Walker. Number 2, Darnold is got to protect the football. 6 interceptions in 2 games against the Rams, and he struggled. I think he threw a couple picks in the playoff game last year against the Rams when he was with the Vikings. Darnold is got to protect the football. That is a humongous key in this game. Sam Darnold has got to protect the ball. That's huge. And then number 3, they got to contain Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua last game destroyed them. They cannot let Puka Nacua have that kind of game again. Take your chance with Devontae Adams. He's good, but he's not as good as he used to be. You cannot let a top 5 receiver like Puka Nacua destroy you the way he did. So for me, it's get the run game going, Darnold protecting the ball, and containing Puka Nacua. Justin, what did the Seahawks have to do to get their first Super Bowl since they lost the Patriots in Arizona?
For me, I also have kind of the running game, and you mentioned that the running game's been a key all year and been a huge part of their success. The last month or so, the last 4 games for the Seahawks, they're averaging at least 100, or they're averaging 165 yards on the ground per game. Yeah, no Charbonnet this week, and that's a difference because him and Walker have been really good together. But Seattle, that running game, they need that to be key again if they can get that going. Number 2, defense got to get after Stafford. again, we talked about it. You talked about it with the Bears last week getting after them, and that Seattle defense is nasty. Um, they're the best that defense, especially the edge, but just the defense as a whole is the best unit left. So of the four teams, that defense best unit left standing right now, and with how good they played all year, they could win the Super Bowl. So they got to show up again. And my last one to start off the game fast again because man, that it felt like that stadium was like that building was gonna collapse after they took that opening kickoff last week to the house. So get off to another fast start this week, get that home crowd back into it.
Oh, absolutely. That's a huge key is to get the home crowd back into the game. That is a humongous key. Yeah, it's like the start fast starts because that was an issue with Seattle. See, fast starts were an issue with Seattle. We talked about how that was an issue with Seattle, but now, yeah. So yeah, starting the game off quickly is going to be a major key to them winning this game. That's a huge key. And their defense, you're right. It's the best unit going. It's the best unit going. Of any unit, the Rams offense, the Patriots defense, the Broncos defense. This is the best unit. Right now, the Seahawks. It's close between the Broncos defense and their and the Seahawks defense, but the Seahawks defense, because we all thought the Broncos defense was probably the best in the league in the first half of the year, but recently Seattle's defense has been better. So Seattle's defense, I think, was second to Houston this year. I think they're the second best defense in the league. And you're right, they are the best unit going forward right now in the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They've been awesome all year. Their secondary's locked down. Their pass rush is just violent, and they get out to the quarterback and they get you on the ground too. And so yeah, they're such a great defense. McDonald's done a really good job there in year two, and they've really built a really good defense. And so yeah, that's the best kind of unit left standing here. And I said a couple weeks ago, like had the second most turnovers in the league, and they're still the one seed and had one of the best records in the sport. Like that's a huge kind of props to their defense how well it's played all year.
Yeah, and then the draft picks on that defense. Obviously Devin Witherspoon's an outright stud, one of the best corners in football. But I mean, you got Byron Murphy, who they drafted last year. Nick Umawara, who's the safety, he's played well. The trade of Ernest Jones. John Snyder's done a really, really good job putting this defense together. Just like you put together the Seattle defense that won that the Legion of Boom. He put that together. He's put this defense together. He's showing you why he is a top 5 general manager in the sport.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. He builds unbelievable defense, and he's done it again. And yeah, they got a lot of really young pieces, and now because they've been kind of banged up defensively at different parts all year defensively. Now it seems like they're fully healthy, and you're seeing kind of the all of them together. And yeah, their defense is nasty, and it's definitely what kind of Russell Wilson was a good quarterback when they had the Legion of Boom, but that defense was such a huge difference maker. And look, we know Darnold's has had his struggles in the postseason, but this defense is good enough to carry him all the way. And yeah, Sanders done a really good job.
Oh, he's done a really, really, really good job with this team. Now we'll get to our prediction on the game. And I think this game is going to be close and competitive, but I'm going to go with the better quarterback here. I'm going to go with the better quarterback. I think Sam Darnold's going to make some mistakes here. I think he's going to continue his struggles against the Rams. I think he's going to throw a couple interceptions. I think the Rams are going to contain that running game. And I think Matthew Stafford's going to outplay him. I think he's going to outplay him in this game. And I think the Rams are going to get back to the Super Bowl. I think Sean McVay's going to get to his third Super Bowl. I think he's going to get back to the Super Bowl. I think the difference is going to be is I think Matthew Stafford's going to make less mistakes than Sam Darnold. I think he is the more experienced quarterback. He's better in the bigger games, and I think he outplays him. I think both defenses play pretty well. I think but I do think I think both teams are going to struggle to run the ball in this game because both run defenses are pretty good. But I'm going to think the quarterback is going to make less mistakes. I'm going to go with Sam Darnold here, and that's why I got the Rams beating the Seahawks 23-20. But Justin, can the Seahawks beat the Rams in Seattle again and get to the Super Bowl for the first time since they lost to the Patriots in Arizona?
I'm going Seattle in this one, 26-21. Look, I don't know how healthy Darnold is. It was a worry for me, but I just really haven't liked the way the Rams have played the last couple of weeks, and that's kind of why I'm still going with Seattle because I think that defense does make a difference. I think Jets picked the Nidbo has a pretty good game because I do think Darnold through the air could have a good night because I haven't liked the way the Rams secondary's played the last few weeks either. I think they run the ball well enough. I do think they get after Matthew Stafford, hit him a couple of times, force a turnover or two. And I think Sam Darnold does enough because Seattle gets off to a good enough start here. And I do have the Seahawks win this game 26-21.
Yeah, you made a good point about the Rams secondary. They have been suspect, especially in that Panther game. They were very suspect in the Panther game.
Mhm.
And then even at the end of that Bears game, to give up that play, give up that fourth down play. They
Yeah,
got
I
all that pressure on Caleb Williams, and they gave up the touchdown. So that was a that was crazy. But they were able to win the game thanks to Caleb throwing a pick there. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right about the Rams. You have a good point about the Rams. They haven't played as well. They didn't play great against the Panthers. They really didn't play great against the Bears either. But they've kind of been surviving and advancing. They can't really survive and advance here. They got to play a great game if they want to get to the Super Bowl.
yeah, they do, and that's why I haven't seen them play a great game in a couple of weeks, and that's why I have to go to Seattle, even though I'm not a true Sam Darnold believer, but I just love the way that defense has been playing, and I think it's good enough. And I think because the Rams, yeah, haven't looked as good as we've seen them at their peak this year, that I do worry going up to Seattle. And look, Seattle at home in the playoffs are 12-0, but against 12-0 against everybody else. And I know they're 0-2 against the Rams here, third straight road game for the Rams. I think that Seattle defense just a difference maker this week. So I think 3 or 4 weeks ago in this, if you ask me, going into this game, I probably would have picked the Rams, but the way the last few weeks have gone, I just had to pick Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, I took the Rams. I mean, but since week 11, the Rams have been my pick to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC. After they beat the Seahawks, they've been my pick. They've been my pick to go to the Super Bowl in the NFC. I like the quarterback. I like the quarterback in Matthew Stafford. I think the defense is good. I really like the offensive line. I like the weapons they have. So they've been my pick. But yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle wins because I think Seattle actually has probably a little bit of a better roster because of how good their defense is, because of the pieces they have on defense. And the Rams secondary is outside of Cameron Curl, who's pretty good. The Rams secondary is very questionable. They're very questionable. I think Seattle definitely. I think the Rams have maybe a better front four, but Seattle definitely has a better back seven.
Yeah, they do, and with Seattle, with all because like the Rams' secondary could be a weakness, and it has the last couple. I know the weather wasn't great in Chicago. Maybe that's kind of why. But yeah, like fourth down, you can't give up. On that fourth down when Caleb just scrambled back on that fourth down there, you can't give that up. That was not great either. So, yeah, like I think Jack Smith and Jay Buck could have a big game, or hey, could this be the week Cooper Kupp, his revenge game? I know he
That's a
played
good
pretty well
point.
the
That's a good point.
last time
Yeah.
in Seattle. So like I could see Darnold, finding ways to spread the ball out and get him the football. And I'm thinking he's healthy enough to go here, and if he just gets enough time, I do think that he plays well enough, and the defense makes like a big stand late.
Yeah, I think that could happen. That could happen. I just think I'm just going to go with the quarterback here. I just like the quarterback better. I just like Matthew Stafford. He's had an MVP level season. Damn Darnold, two really good seasons. But as we've seen, when he's had to win games, especially last year against the Rams, or last year in the season finale against the Lions, where the number one seed was on the line, he has came up small. I just trust the quarterback more. That's why even though they're on the road, I'm going to go with the Rams. So I got round 3 between the Rams and Pats in the Super Bowl. You got a rematch of the Super Bowl in Arizona. You got a rematch of Super Bowl 49. I have a rematch of Super Bowl 36 and 53.
Yeah, yeah. Either matchup should be a good one, and hopefully those have turned out pretty well for the Patriots
They
against
have.
those two. So
They
hopefully
have.
again,
They're
I
3-0.
don't.
They're 3-0 against
Yeah,
both of them.
I don't know. I don't think it's gonna happen because I do think both teams are a little bit better than New England. But hey, it's a Super Bowl. Doesn't matter. They as long as they get there, it's been a great year. So win or lose next week or 2 weeks, if they get by Denver, I won't care. I'll be pretty happy. I
Yeah,
be one Super Bowl where I wouldn't, I'm like, because that Eagle one, that's another thing. The Pats have lost the back and quarterback before in the playoffs.
I know.
They are in the Super Bowl.
Nick Foles in the Super Bowl. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That one's got to
yeah,
hurt. Nick losing to Nick Foles in the Super
yeah.
Bowl.
That
Yeah,
one hurt. That
yeah.
one and the two Giant one hurt.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know if they'd lose in 2 weeks if it hurt. I don't know.
yeah. It
I don't
probably
know. It
wouldn't.
depends how they guess they lose.
We'll see. But
Yeah, we'll see.
should be interesting to see what happens. Should be interesting to see what happens. Conference Championship Sunday this week. But we got to move on to some league news. Speaking of the Bills, we were talking about their game against the Broncos a little bit. We were talking about the Broncos on Monday after they got eliminated again in the playoffs. The Bills fire head coach Sean McDermott, and really the question is this the right move? Was this the right move for the Bills? And I think I don't think it was because if John Harbaugh was still out there, I would say yes. But the problem with the Bills making this move is who are you going to replace him with? Right now, the favorites are Clint Kubiak and Brian Daboll. So you have a failed head coach in Brian Daboll and a head coach with no experience. Sean McDermott, yes. Is it frustrating? Is he a great coach? No. Has he gotten over the hump? No. And it's frustrating. I get it, but the alternatives are not better than Sean McDermott. So I would have definitely stuck with Sean McDermott for one more year. I would have stuck with him for one more year. I did not think this was the right move to fire Sean McDermott. I don't think he's a great coach, but I don't think this was the right move to fire Sean McDermott.
Yeah, like I've never been a huge McDermott fan. I am. It is puzzling that you fired him this year. Like the one, because like I know that in their last 7 playoff losses, then McDermott's a defensive guy. They've given up 33 points a game. His defenses has. So like his defense, last week you kind of go with the turnovers. Like the one where they should have fired him is after the Chiefs debacle, where he should have squibbed it with 13 seconds left. That's the one where you should have fired him. But I'm with you. It's like where are the candidates coming from? Because I'm like, but I know Dable and Allen. Yeah, they have a great relationship from when Dable was an OC there. But can you really go get the coach that just got fired in New York? I don't think so. Yeah, Kubiak, you're taking a shot on. I don't think Flores is in the mix. That's one where I'd say, okay,
That's
that's
actually the
definitely
one where I
upgrade.
wouldn't mind. That's the hire. If they get
Yeah.
him, that's the hire that I would like the most. In between would be Flores. I mean, Dayball I wouldn't like at all because he would just
No.
coach Josh Allen. He would coach Josh Allen. You're not New England would laugh. The Patriots and Chiefs would laugh at the Bills if they hired Brian Dayball. They'd laugh at him. Even Joe Brady, no head coaching experience. Clint Kubiak, no head coaching experience. So the one I would like the most would be Brian Flores.
Yeah, he'd be the one. I don't seems like he's not in the running in this one. Um, but yeah, that's the one where I go, all right, because I don't love McDermott, but it's also I just don't know where you're gonna find a better candidate at this point. Yeah, if Harbaugh was still out there, if you were eliminated last week in the playoffs, then I could see it and you go get a Harbaugh. So for me, I don't love it because I thought there was better, you know, this was one of the years where like I don't fully put that loss on Sean McDermott.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as we said, the one in 2021 when they had 13 seconds to go and they squib kicked it, absolutely. This one, maybe you could have said he could have ran out the clock, but still, he's got Josh Allen as his quarterback. He wants to see if he can steal points there. So, and Allen's got to protect the ball there. So, yeah, I don't think this was the right move. And then we talked about replacements. Who should be the favorite? Who should be the favorite? I think it should be Brian Flores, but I think the favorite right now, I think it's Brian Daboll. I think it's Brian Daboll or Joe Brady. I actually think it's Joe Brady. I think I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna elevate Joe Brady. But the problem is it's very risky because that's a first time head coach. You fire a coach that's been really good for 9 years, and then you hire a first time head coach and try to compete with New England and Kansas City and Denver. I don't think it's gonna work out.
Yeah, I'm with you. It should be Brian Flores that gets his job, but yeah, I'm with you. I think at this point it's going to go to Joe Brady, which I've always liked him since his time at LSU. But yeah, it's a risk because you're with a first year coach and Josh Allen's. I'm looking up his age now because he's been in the league here for a minute. He's going to be 30 by the time next season starts, so he's kind of starting to get up there. You've already wasted a good amount of time with him that time for winning one, and this was kind of the year with the Chiefs being down, the Bengals with Zach Taylor. Who knows about them and their future? But they still have Burrow. Like this was the year, and now, yeah, it's to be tougher that you have to go up against like an Andy Reid and Mahomes when healthy next year and all that. So it'd be a tough match. It'd be tough for Joe Brady to kind of have to put a ton of pressure on him to kind of break through here.
Yeah, we'll see who Buffalo ends up hiring. We'll see who they end up hiring. But I just did not agree with the move of firing Sean McDermott. But yesterday, the Giants introduced John Harbaugh as their head coach, and I'm going to give my takeaways. I'm going to give my takeaways from the press conference, and Justin, you could react to what I say. And I had 5 takeaways from it, and I'll go from 5 to 1. Number 5, they talked about what do you see on tape? What do you see on tape? And he says, I see a lot of good football players. I see a lot of good football players. Now, I think, again, this is something he has to say. And there are some good football players. Now, there's definitely work to be done. So if you see the back seven of that team, there's definitely work to be done especially on the defensive side of the ball in the back seven. There's definitely work to be done. But he said, I see a lot of good football players. I mean, I think he likes what he sees from Scat. He likes what he sees from obviously Dart, Scataboo. He didn't watch that much of Neighbors, but Neighbors in the few games he watched him, Carter at the end, Burns, even Dex at times. So he says there are good players on Phil. Number 4, He did obviously he did praise Joe Shane, praise his deep knowledge of the game. But what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? I think that's something he had to say. And that leads me to our next one, talking about reporting to ownership. He said it's overblown. The Giants have never done it this way, so I don't think it's overblown. I think that John Harbaugh is going to be pretty involved in these decisions, a lot more than any other head coach has been. So I don't think it's overblown. But again, he kind of has to say that to not show that they're minimizing Joe Shane's job with this team. So he kind of say that. Number two, it was talk about Dart. He said very excited to work with Dart. Very excited to work with Dart. So those four things are things I expected him to say. Were things I expected him to say. The one thing I thought was the most genuine thing he said, and the biggest takeaway of the press conference is when they asked the question, when they asked him the question, what qualities are you looking for players on this team? What qualities for players are you looking for on this team? And he says, players that love football. And that was huge. I think that was the quote that most people took out of that. He said, players that love football. And he said, if you don't love football, you're not going to love it here. That was the key quote. I think that was the quote of the press conference. That was the answer of the press conference. That press conference that he said, if you don't love football, you're not going to be here. So that to me, that was my biggest takeaway from the press conference. They're going to be getting guys that love the game, that are going to be studying film, that are going to be grinding, they're going to be practicing hard, and they're going to be ready to go. And that's why I'm really excited for the John Harbaugh Giants. I'm really excited that he is the Giants head coach.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I said it last week that you got an adult in the room finally for the first time in a while, and yeah, you got to get guys in that locker room who are gonna want to be there. You're not gonna have guys distracted on a boat in January,
That's a
with
good
like
one.
an Odell.
Yeah,
You're not gonna have that. You're not gonna have that issue. So you're gonna have, it's gonna be, he's gonna get guys like that in that locker room that are gonna be great for that. And yeah, it really seems that he really like Jackson Dart. He really wants to work with him, and I think that's a great sign. And yeah, with his involvement, yeah, you're paying him $20 million a year. He's gonna have some involvement. He's probably gonna have a good amount of it. Yeah, maybe Shane does some of the stuff still, but yeah, that Harbaugh's gonna probably have final say on a good amount of things, which you're paying him you're paying Harbaugh to kind of have that, paying him $20 million a year. So I read the quotes. I think you got to definitely be excited if you're a Giant fan, because you got the best coach in the market. You got a guy that really seems like wants to be here, and a guy too, because I feel like this is a problem too with the Jets and Giants over the last couple. They haven't found coaches either that are great with the New York media either. That like just don't know how to handle it.
And you have you mentioned that because yesterday you could see he was great with the media.
Yeah, and you see, and this is the problem with hiring first-year coaches in New York, and this is for like all sports, not just football. Is the New York media is a lot different than any other place you've been at, and you got a guy like Harbaugh who's a very veteran, experienced guy, and knows how to kind of handle it, knows how to kind of deal with that all, and I think that's really crucial too. Because again, I just think it eats guys up. I think it ate up Aaron Glenn this year at times. I know he got a little bit better towards the end of the year, but I know Dable had his moments too with the media as well. So I think it's and I know even Saleh, too with the Jets a couple years, So I think that's huge too. So I think it's a terrific hire. And the Giants' future is definitely brighter. It's a tough division. It's going to be tough to crack. To kind of get up there and continue to try to get back to competing in the NFC East. But they're definitely taking a couple steps forward here, which feels like the last couple of years when they've done it, something has gotten where they've taken steps back as well.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be steps back. I think there's going to be steps forward. And he said yesterday, we expect to win every game. We expect to be competitive. We expect to win every single game, and that's what you want to hear as a Giants fan. You want to hear that because you haven't had coaches that have been saying that recently. So I think this is a breath of fresh air. I mean, I just thought, yeah, he looked comfortable with the media, and then obviously the one quote that'll stand out with everyone is he wants players that love football, that love the grind, that love the process. If that's the Harbaugh way, and that's what he wants. That's what he absolutely wants. And yeah, it was a great hire. It's a great hire for this franchise. And yesterday was a great day for this franchise welcoming him in.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely was. And isn't he doing something too with the facilities? Like he's gonna help out redoing all that and with some of the facilities
I
too,
think
which
so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
yeah,
I think
which
so. Yeah.
is a good thing as well. So um I think I think it's a terrific hire, and I think the Giants definitely are on this right step back here to being a competitive football team and should, maybe not next year, but should be, playoff team the years to come here.
Yeah, and then going over other moves of the coaching carousel on Saturday night, the Falcons hired Stefanski. I like that hire. He was the second best coach out there. I like McCarthy a little bit better than him, but he's the second best coach out there. And what he did with Cleveland was really good. Baker Mayfield, he's his comments. He's ready.
Yeah,
He's
that
ready
was
for him. He's ready for it. That's going to be interesting when they play each other. But yeah, I think with BJ, we'll see what happens at the quarterback position. I think you should just keep Kirk Cousins because he knows that system. He's very familiar in that system, so they should keep Kirk Cousins around and still keep Kirk around as the backup. But just with the offensive talent he has, with Bijan Robinson, I know Pitt's a free agent, but they should franchise him. Drake London, with the offensive talent they have, and then with some of the talent on defense, seeing what defensive coordinator if he keeps Albrecht, we'll see what happens there. But I think this is a really good hire for the Falcons. I really like the Stefanski hire. Other hires, not as much though. Jeff Hathley, I think it's more of the same with the Dolphins. I know the GM came from Green Bay, so this was pretty predictable they were going to hire him. But I think it's just more of the same for the Dolphins. They hire coordinators. The last time they hired a coach with experience in the NFL was Dave Wannstedt because when they hired Nick Saban, he never coached in the NFL. He never coached in the NFL before. They hired Cam Cameron, Tony Sperano. Then it was after that it was Joe Philbin, then Adam Gase, Brian Flores, and I like Brian Flores. I think they did a pretty good job there. I shouldn't have gotten fired. And then Mike McDaniel. So they're continuing to hire coordinators, the Dolphins. So I'm not the biggest fan of that hire. And the hire I'm just not a fan of at all is the Robert Saleh hire in Tennessee. You got a young quarterback and a defensive-minded head coach. We saw how that worked when Zach Wilson when they were together, when him and Zach Wilson were together. It didn't even last a year before they went out and got Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Robert Saleh is a great defensive coordinator. He is a bad head coach. Robert Saleh is a bad head coach. He proved that in New York. He's a bad head coach. And I don't think he's going to do well in Tennessee. I don't think he will. I don't think there's no discipline. There's no discipline from his teams. He's a great defensive coordinator. He's a bad head coach. So I like the Falcons hire. I'm it's Dolphin hire. Yes, Halfley has experience because he coached at BC, but I'm not the biggest fan of the hire of the Dolphins hire, and I am not a fan of the Titans hire at all. I really am not with Robert Saleh. I'm not a fan of that hire, but I am a fan of the Chargers hire, going out and getting Mike McDaniel. That's a good hire for Justin Herbert. I mean, Justin Herbert's got to finally step up because the excuses for him in the playoffs are over. They're putting all these resources around him. He's got to step up in the postseason. So I like that hire. But out of the four coaching hires, I really like Harbaugh and Stefanski. I don't love the halfway hire, and I can't stand the Saleh hire.
Yeah, for me, I'm with you with the Stefanski hire. Yeah, like I think mostly the problems in Cleveland wasn't on him. It was mostly that front office and the way they put teams together. The guy got Cleveland to a couple playoff appearances. That's pretty good. And now you're going to a division that's a lot easier. And with the offensive talent he has, and it's offensive talent, he really didn't have much of Cleveland. So I'm excited to see how kind of that one plays out. So I did really like Atlanta going Kevin Stefanski. My other ones, yeah, um, Jeff Halfley to Miami. I didn't love it either. I thought he was pretty solid at Boston College, and he jumped to Green Bay because he was probably going to get fired after the next season. But the way Green Bay finished on the stretch, and I know it was a lot of injuries, um, they didn't close out well, especially in the defense end of the field. So yeah, and another coordinator, I think Miami probably should have gone somebody with some experience, but yeah, grabbing the GM from Green Bay or having ties in the Green Bay front office, it made sense. Maybe he brings Willis with him at some point, but I didn't love that one either. The solid one, I'm okay with him getting a second chance, but I don't think this is the right. I don't think this is the right situation because I'm with you. I think you need an offensive mind guy with Cam Ward coming in. The Jets he was an absolute disaster with the Jets. I think he's a really good defense coordinator. I think maybe not being in New York is going to help him out, but I do worry because, as you mentioned, the discipline with his Jet team were awful. But again, that might just be the Jets because the Jets are just always bad discipline wise. So maybe, but I'm with you. I think they should have gone with a more offensive minded guy for Cam Ward. So I don't think this is going to be the right fit for him. In Tennessee, but I do think he'll be a little bit better than what he was with the Jets. And then, yeah, the Mike McDaniel hire going to LA seems like a good one. I think he's a really good offense coordinator. I don't think that guy's fit to be I don't think he should be a head coach, but I do think he's a good offense coordinator. I do think yeah, the time's now for Justin Herbert and that offense to take it to the next level, try to advance in the playoffs and try to make one of these Super Bowl runs.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So we'll see what happens with these coaches, and we'll see what happens with McDaniel with the Chargers. But we have breaking news and happened during our show, and it is related to the Yankees. And just about 30 minutes ago, they have re-signed Cody Bellinger to a 5-year, I think 100 what was it, 132 million,
62 million.
162 million, so 32 million per year. They have re-signed Cody Bellinger. This is big. This is big. This is what Yankee fans are waiting for. And I love this move. I love this move. I love re-signing him. Put him in that lineup with Judge, with Stanton, with Chisholm, Ben and Trent Grisham had a good year last year. So I really like this move. I really like the move. He got a really good rotation. I think this is a really good move for the Yankees. I think they needed to re-sign him. I need to re-sign him. They needed to. So I really like the move. I really do. And I think this Yankee team with this move, I think they're right there. I think they're right there with the Blue Jays, right there with the Mariners as one of the best teams in the American League.
Yeah, glad they got it done finally. So that 7-year contract that Boris kept kind of trying to get the Yankees to bite on was not out there. It seemed like, and I started to feel good this morning after the Mets got Luis
Robert, yeah.
Robert from the White. Yeah, I kind of felt good, but I knew maybe Toronto was still maybe in the mix. It sounded like there was 2 other teams with the Mets, but yeah, I'm happy he's coming back. He had a really good season. I know he's had some up and down ones with the Dodgers. Like they not tender him at one point. The Cubs got rid of him for pretty much a salary dump. But I do think his swing does fit Yankee Stadium, so I'm not too concerned that he kind of has one of the downfalls that we saw in LA and even with the Cubs there. But yeah, it's a good bat to have in the lineup because they really haven't done much. And again, I've said it multiple times. You're running out of time with Cole here and Judge to win a World Series. So we'll see. But yeah, I don't know if they're better than the Blue Jays and the Mariners yet. It'll help to get a healthy Cole, and the rotation looks really, really good. But yeah, I'm glad they re-signed him here because it would have been probably Dominguez or Dominguez or Spencer Jones playing left field every day, and I love the potential of Dominguez, but Spencer Jones is an unknown right now, and there's a lot of swing and miss, even though he's a top prospect in this swing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's potential with Jones and Dominguez, but you got to make this move. You're going to compete with the Blue Jays and the Mariners. You're going to and the Tigers, the top teams in the American League, and then try to do what you can. Because we know what the Dodgers did again. They signed Kyle Tucker. Not too much money for him, but still, they re-signed him. So if you're going to compete with those teams, you have to sign a guy like Bellinger, who was the second best hitter in that lineup last year, no question. He was the second best hitter behind Judge in that lineup. I expect him to be the second best hitter in that lineup this year behind Judge. So I like this Yankee team. I'm starting to really like this Yankee team going into this season. I think their lineup is pretty good. I think their rotation is really good. The bullpen will be a question mark, but Bernard did a pretty good job for them. We'll see about the depth of the bullpen. I think that's going to be a little bit of a concern. But I think this Yankee team, I think the expectation's got to be, if the Yankees are not playing in the World Series, Aaron Boone should be fired without question. I know you want him fired already. You want him fired now.
Not 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
I think the Yankees need to be in the Fall Classic. Because you lose to the Dodgers, you can't fire anyone for losing to the Dodgers. You just can't. I don't care if they get swept to the Dodgers. You can't fire anyone if you lose to the Dodgers in the World Series. But to me, the expectation has to be the Yankees got to be playing in the World Series or Aaron Boone is fired. No question about it for me. No question. It's been his 9th year and only 1 World Series appearance. He's got to be fired.
Yeah, he should have been fired a long time ago. I don't love him as manager. Yeah, for me, it should be like getting the World Series or it's kind of a bust year, but I still don't know how much. I know Toronto just lost Bo Bichette too, and I just think Toronto's a better baseball team because they do the small stuff better. Like I've preached on that all of last year. I think Toronto's just better because they do the little things well that the Yankees don't do. And look, I still don't love it. I know Volpe's been decent in the postseason, especially 2 years ago. I don't think you could win a World Series with Anthony Volpe as your starting shortstop. I still don't love this team. I still got to see what Cole looks like coming off Tommy John. I still think Toronto's better than you. I still think Baltimore is going to have a bounce back year. Boston's made some moves, but I think they're third or fourth right now in that division. Um, and Seattle's be very good again. So I still think they're the third best team, but yeah, if they don't get to the World Series and they get eliminated early again to like a Toronto or even like a Baltimore or something like that, then Boone should definitely be gone. But they love him. And I wonder too because I wonder too if it depends on this if this lockout's going to happen or not. Like, how long of an extension do they give them? They might not have to pay a manager in 2027 either.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
do
good
they
point
do they
there.
hire a first time manager that you might not get paid your whole first year? But again, that's something down the road because I think that's what the Angels did with Kirk Suzuki because they only gave him 1 year deal.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
a prove it deal
I think
for
so.
him.
Yep, yep, yep.
See,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, listen, with Cole back, and he'll be back. He won't start the year. But he'll be back in May. To me, they have to get there. They have to get. This team has to be playing. It's going to be hard to beat the Dodgers, but this team has to be playing in a World Series. I know. I know. You think the Blue Jays, I think, are comparable to them. The Mariners are close. I think maybe a little comparable too, but. They got to be in the World Series. This team has got to be there. And you talked about the little things, them not doing the little things right, and Toronto doing little things. If they're not doing the little things right this year, he has to go.
yeah, and I don't think they're going to do that because they haven't done that in 9 years. So I don't think they're going to do it in year 10. I
Yeah.
don't think they've learned a lesson. I need to see it before I believe it. And that's what drives me crazy about this franchise. And we've talked about the minor league system and how they don't
Yeah.
really, they're worried about their launch angles and,
Oh God.
they
Oh
don't care
man.
about the strikeouts.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah.
it's a little, Toronto doesn't strike out.
Yeah. They
They,
do little
they
things. Yeah.
battered, they battered the Yankees in that series,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they put the
Yeah.
ball in play 1 through 9.
Yeah.
Yankees don't value that for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
Yeah. Exactly. 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 Yeah. And that's why they. Yeah. That's exactly why the Yankees lost that in the division series to Toronto. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. Interesting offseason, though. I think Bichette going to the Mets. I'm happy that Bichette's out of the division. And I'm happy the Blue Jays didn't get Tucker. There were a couple scares there. The Blue Jays, because they went out and got Cease. They went out and got, the Japanese third baseman. So I'm happy they didn't go out and get Tucker, and I'm happy they didn't go out and get Bichette, and they let Bichette walk. So they didn't re-sign Bichette. So I'm happy there. So it's going to be a race. It's going to be an interesting race in the AL East, but I'm happy the Blue Jays didn't get Tucker and Bichette. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That would have really hurt because that makes that lineup a lot more dangerous. So yeah, glad they didn't get those two either. And
Or didn't resign. My
I
bad.
don't love.
Didn't resign Bichette.
Oh, yeah, didn't resign Bo Bichette. So, and I don't love Dylan Cease either. I think I don't big games. That guy's not great. So I don't love Cease either. So look, I think the Yankees could beat Toronto again. I just goes back to little things. I'll take Toronto and the way they do things a lot better than the Yankees do. So it'll be tough, and maybe that division could come right down the end again.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening there. But we gotta talk about what happened on Monday night, and that's in the national championship game with where Indiana beat Miami. And I'll start with you, Justin. I'll start with you. And for you, Indiana winning their first national title game, beat Miami 27-21. Justin, why did Miami win the national championship?
You mean Indiana winning national
No.
championship?
I'm sorry about that. Sorry about that. Why did Indiana win the national title?
Yeah. Yeah, so for me, why Indiana won the national championship, they protected the football. They didn't turn the ball over in the 3 playoff games, and they went 63 straight quarters out of fumble. That goes all the way back to week 1. That is just I don't have that's just absurd. My second was they outrushed Miami. Since Kurtz's Signetti's gotten there, they're 25-0 when they've outrushed their opponents and 2-2 when they don't. And then my final one was they made a couple kind of key plays, especially in the fourth quarter, because there's twice there in that fourth quarter. Mendoza, it was Charlie Becker that was kind of big difference. Mendoza hit him twice. In the fourth quarter on a 3rd and 5, I believe it was that back shoulder throw. They made another, then he made another kind of huge grab for a 19-yard one. On like a 3rd and 7 there. So Charlie Becker, that Francisco Mendoza one as well. There's my third point. Just made a couple of key plays there in the third quarter, hooking up with each other. So it was protecting the football, outrushing Miami, and Becker Mendoza kind of connecting there late in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I'm with you with the key plays in the fourth quarter, and it all started with that block punt. That block punt was huge. That block punt for a touchdown. That was huge. That was humongous. That block punt was huge. I think that was definitely one of the reasons. And then you move on to Mendoza. 4th down and 12. They're up 3, and Signetti goes for it. They get the touchdown there. And that was big because say they kick a field goal and make it, say they end up making it 20-14, then, there's a good chance Miami takes the lead. Miami's probably driving at the end of the game because Miami's probably driving at the end to get a field goal instead of a touchdown. So needing a field goal instead of a touchdown, only needing a field goal. So that was huge. That was huge that they went for it there and they got it. That was huge. And then number 3, their defense. It's been a top defense all year. Made the big play. They made the big play when it mattered. They got the interception that mattered to clinch the title. So for me, it was the special teams, it was Mendoza, and it was defense. And for me, that's why Indiana won the national championship.
Yeah, it was. And you talk about the interception. Jeremiah Sharp made that interception.
Yep.
That name? Yeah, Glenn
He's
Sharp.
related.
Was
he was the guy who got called for the PI in the national championship game.
Yep.
Wow.
So it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
So it's wild.
The funny thing is, would you ever think his nephew would play for Indiana as a Miami kid? Would you ever think he would play for
Miami
Indiana?
Never offered him.
Really? Wow.
They never offered him. I think he was a 2 or 3 star coming out of high school. They never offered him.
So the Miami kid in his hometown, Mendoza was in his hometown too, but the Miami kid in his hometown clinched the game. That's it. What year is he? The guy who got the
I believe he's a junior.
So he'll be back next year, or he'll go into the draft.
Yeah. No, I think he's coming back next year.
Yeah, so
I anticipate him coming back.
That was a huge interception. Yeah, that was a huge interception there, and that clinched the game. Now I don't know if Frank is listening right now or wants to hear this, but we got to talk about why Miami lost the national championship game. And Justin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this was your number 1 point with Indiana, but I put this under Miami. The special teams swings, the 10-point swing there. You mentioned the block punt, but that led to a touchdown, but also that missed field goal there late in the first half. The 10-point swing was a huge difference, and I kind of said it last week. Miami had to play a perfect game. There was a couple of sequences there where they were not buttoned up, and they made a couple of crucial mistakes, and that really hurt them. My second was I thought Miami in the first half was way too conservative. I thought they really felt like in the first half did not want Beck to make a bad throw or put themselves in harm's way. And I thought really cautious because the second half they moved the ball great. And in the first half, I just felt they were way too conservative. My last one was 3rd downs. Miami's 3 for 11, and Indiana was 6 for 15. And especially early on that game, Miami had a bunch of 3rd and longs, and even a couple of those 3rd and shorts that they had. Miami didn't really convert them. So I feel like, too, the way Miami kind of operate on 3rd down really hurt them as well.
Yeah, and my first point is what you talked about with the first half. Miami didn't have a good first half. And you made a great point about them not getting points on that drive before the half. And I was saying they should have went for it on 4th down. That was before they get it. Maybe they get a shorter field goal. And at the end of the game, they're only kicking a field goal there to tie the game instead of trying to get a touchdown. So that was a really good point there. But also, I think what they didn't do was they didn't sustain drive. They didn't get the run game going. They got the run game with Fletcher going in the second half. They didn't get the run game going with Fletcher in the first half. They didn't sustain drives. I think that was one of the reasons why they didn't win the game. They let Indiana go up on them early. And then number 2, the special teams breaking down there. Special teams breaking down. It just can't happen in a big game like that. The special teams breaking down and having that block punt happen. That just can't happen. And then number 3, Beck had the game in his hands. Beck had the game in his hands. You dream, if it was a starting quarterback, to have a drive to win your team a national title. And he blew it. He threw a pick, and he blew it, and didn't even talk to the media after the game. That was the other thing. He didn't even talk to the press. Now he talked to the local media, but he didn't even talk to the press after the game. Didn't shake hands. He was upset, rightfully so. But yeah, that was a brutal turnover by Carson Beck, and unfortunately, he had a really good college career, but he's going to be remembered for that. The one thing everybody's going to remember Carson Beck for is that interception.
Yeah, because he had a really good college career. Starting at Georgia, now going to Miami. Yeah, and that ball, the problem all year was with him is he didn't have that arm strength back after his elbow injury that he suffered last year. And you could just tell and I know Marion, the former UConn Husky, Marion, the wide receiver, I think blamed himself there. But no matter kind of whose fault it is on that play, it wasn't a great ball. And that's kind of because they really haven't taken too many shots of them downfield. Like it's been a lot of more kind of intermediate short stuff with them all year. But yeah, that's one that everyone's kind of gonna remember the opportunity to go down the field and get the game winner. They came up short there. So Yeah, it's unfortunate for him, but yeah, the special team because you go back to that first half of the missed field goal, he was 17 for 24 in the year. It's not like he's been a great kicker either. So it's not like the Ole Miss kicker where you could kind of guarantee that you're going to get even a longer field goal there. Wasn't automatic. So yeah, it was a big risk there by Cristobal, and it definitely failed and definitely came back to bite them.
Yeah, it definitely did. It absolutely did come back to bite them there. Now that Indiana wins the national title, Kurt Signetti, phenomenal job in year two, wins the national title. And you said last week that if he wins the national title, he's probably the best coach in college football. Do you still think that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The job that he's done in Indiana. You know how many bowl wins Indiana's had since 1899? Well, coming
Probably
into
like,
this playoff,
I think maybe one, two,
they've won three.
three bowl.
They've
Wow,
won three
wow,
bowl games all time.
wow,
Until
wow,
the last 4 weeks, they've won three total. So
wow,
they've won as
wow.
many as they have their first how many, since 1899. So that's how impressive a job Kurt Signetti's done this program. We've talked about it a bunch the last couple of weeks of how great of a job. Like the only one that ever comes close to turning around like this and this quickly is Bill Snyder at Kansas State. And obviously they never got to a national championship. He got into a couple.
Jim Calhoun at UConn's pretty close too. You got to
Yeah,
give him
I'm,
that.
I'm saying for football. Football.
Okay, gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha,
yeah.
gotcha, gotcha.
Calhoun at UConn definitely with basketball, definitely. But like on the gridiron, we haven't seen anything like this before. So I think he is the best coach in college football. Um, him and Saban I don't know what's up. Him and Saban, I don't think get along.
They don't because
I
you
was
saw Saban
shocked.
wearing the like Saban's got a relationship
Yeah,
with Cristobal. Like you saw him wearing the Miami hat.
they. Yeah, I don't know if there's something there. It's kind of
Yeah, there might
surprised
be. There
that
might
he
be
went.
something there. There might be something there
Yeah,
because he's a little arrogant. So he's like, "I win. Google me." Yeah, but like
yeah,
Cristobal, like he was wearing the Miami hat when he was doing on game day. Saban wearing the
yeah.
Miami hat.
He was. I My best guess is I wonder if he wanted the Alabama job when Saban retired, and Saban
Ooh,
he wanted the endorsement.
yeah,
Maybe I could see
yeah,
Signetti being angry about that.
yeah,
Just the
yeah,
way he's built, I can see him
yeah.
so. But yeah, Signetti's done an unbelievable job. I think he's the best coach of college football, and Indiana's not slowing down anytime soon. I think 64. We'll see how many they can get under him, how much longer he's around. But yeah, he's unbelievable head coach.
To I'd say probably right behind Ryan Day and Kirby Smart. I'm still going Kirby number one. He's got two national titles. It's hard because so many great coaches have left. Okay, I'm going Kirby number one, Day number two because he won a title and he's had more long term success than Signetti. And I'll put Signetti at three. I'm not put. I'm going to still go Kirby Smart as number one. He's got those two national titles.
He does. I haven't liked the way when he hasn't had 5 stars at backups at every position. It hasn't gone as well for him as. And look, I love Day. He's a New Hampshire guy. Hey, not impressed with the last couple of weeks. Coaching wise, it has not been great for him. I know. I get the long term success, but like his track record, you go back at Elon, you go back at James Madison. Now at Indiana. For
You like
me,
him because
I've seen him long enough.
You like him because he was an FCS guy that had success. That's why you're a big fan.
Yeah, I didn't like him at James Madison. Them in New Hampshire were rivals, so conference rivals. So
Yeah.
I didn't didn't love him there. But yeah, so I've been seeing his teams for a while now. I've always been very impressed with the jobs he's done. So for me, I do have him number one. Did I think, and I just never thought he'd get Indiana this level. So I just think because I don't know how many other coaches like I don't think Kirby Smart could do this at Indiana. I don't know if Ryan Day could do this at Indiana, but Kurt Signetty can. So that's why. And and I know people keep saying, "Well, this gives other teams hope," but like I don't know how many Kurt Signettis are out there.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know how much like is Northwestern getting 30 million in NIL. No, so
yeah.
that's the other thing. I think he's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's done a phenomenal. There's no doubt that he's done a phenomenal job. He's done an absolutely phenomenal job at Indiana. And the big question is what team do you think has a better chance of getting into this spot next year, Indiana or Miami? I'm going to go Indiana because of the coach. I like the coach, and they got a quarterback with Josh Hoover coming in. So I'm going to say Indiana has a better chance of getting here next year.
Yeah, I think Indiana is as well because Miami is going to lose a lot. I know Indiana is going to use a decent amount as well, but I like Josh Hoover. can be a little turnover prone at times, but I think under Cignetti, I think he's still got both coordinators coming back. I think Indiana's really killed in the portal. I know Miami's starting to. Problem is Miami doesn't have a quarterback. I don't know if you're seeing what's going on at Duke with Darren Mensa right now,
Mensa, yeah,
but
the Mensa thing, yeah.
yeah, it's if he can get out of Duke, he's going to Miami. I think it's going to be able to happen. I don't think Duke's going to be able to stop him, but but right now Miami doesn't technically have a quarterback, and they lose a ton of talent off the team. So I think Indiana's got the better shot as well here. Even though I think they got Oregon next year, they might have USC. I think they got Michigan on the road, so their schedule's pretty tough in the Big Ten. But I still trust Ignite to get it done. And what they're already doing in the portal.
Yeah, I think so. I think Indiana has a better chance of getting back next year. But great college football season capped off by Indiana winning their first national title. Now we'll wrap up the show talking about UConn and Nova on Saturday. And this is an interesting game. Nova's been this. This is the best. This is probably the best Nova team since Jay Wright. No, it's not a great team, but I think it's the best Nova team since Jay Wright retired. I think it's the best Nova team because Kyle Neptune was terrible. Kevin Willer's not great, but he's a good coach. He was good at Seton Hall, Villanova so far. And this UConn team, here's the thing about this UConn team: they've shot under 20% from three-point range the last two games. There's a little bit of a concern there. I know they're number 2 in the country. I know they're 18-1. But they have not. They need to shoot the three ball better. They need to. Now, I do think they win this game. I do think they win here. I think they win, but I think they scrap one out. I think this team scraps one out here. I think they win it. Maybe maybe 69-64, maybe like something like that. I think they scrap one out, or 69-65. I think they scrap one out. I do think they get the win, but this team needs to improve shooting threes because they're not beating anyone good late in March with the way they're shooting the three right now. I know they're number 2 in the country, but it's a bad conference.
Yeah. It is wild that this is their best kind of start to year since '99, and there is a lot of nitpicking that you can do with this group right now. Look, they haven't shot the ball well. They're coming off a stretch where they played 5 games in 13 days, and 3 of those games on the road, and you hope that the week off does them so good. Like I know Solo Ball with the wrist is still bugging them, but
that's been big. It's he hasn't been shooting the ball well at all. Yeah.
Yeah, and you hope he bounces back sooner rather than later, and you hope the week off does them a lot of good here. And again, then they have problems at home next week, so you don't have to travel for 2 weeks, which I think is going to help this group. But yeah, there's concern with that offense because I think their offense is 35th now at KenPom efficiency wise, so that's it's not where we all thought it would be right now, which is insane. But yeah, I think the week off is going to do them a lot of good. This Nova team's a tough physical team. Aiken Lewis, the point guard's been pretty good as a freshman. They got a bad Georgetown team. That's it. I know we don't have to go off on Georgetown because I know you're going to kick out of this. I just want to bring this up quickly. Did you see Ed Cooley's comments from Saturday?
I did. I saw them making excuses. 9-9, but he's making excuses about losing.
Got to be blessed. We're blessed to be 1-6.
Yeah. What a joke.
Return to home on Saturday.
What a joke. He goes back. Does he go back to Providence Saturday?
Yep.
What a joke. Yep. What a joke Ed Cooley is right now.
It's bad. Might be the first time both coaches get booed for introductions.
Because
Wayne Robbins lost the other night too.
King English, he hasn't done a good job up there either.
No, he hasn't. So that'll be an interesting one Saturday afternoon. But yeah, I think it's a UConn game that you should win. Not gonna be a ton of possessions. KenPom's got to spread 9 in this one, but 2 teams that I would hope UConn tries to play a little bit more, playing a little bit more up tempo. I don't think they will. Duke Brennan's a solid big who, one of the best rebounds in the country. I do think that UConn gets it done, but I think to be a grinder, I think it's to be not a ton of possessions. I think it could be a game that's going to be in the 60s. Maybe UConn gets in the low 70s, but I do expect them to win this game. And hopefully to bounce, then you get Providence at home too. So look, chance to be 21 is great, but yeah, I am starting to be concerned, of this team being at the level that you have to be to win a national championship right now. I'm a little concerned, but we're kind of seeing some holes now, even with Michigan lately. So look, it's tough. It's tough to win. I think they have the talent to do it, but they got to start. They got to start shooting the basketball better, and I hope that starts on Saturday.
It needs to. It needs to start on Saturday because they can be for rude. They can be in for a rude awakening when they go to the Garden on the 6th because St. John's starting to play better.
Yeah, they are. Nice comeback win last night.
I
Seton Hall, just oh my
yeah,
god, Seton
yeah,
Hall. I had turned it off. I thought it was over,
yeah.
but because they were up 16, I want to say at
I
the
think so.
most at
Yeah,
one
yeah.
point.
I think they were. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Dylan Mitchell being like a point forwards kind of helped. And they they didn't shoot the ball great. They got to the line, which is huge. So yeah, St. John's is starting to figure it out still. And yeah, those you got a couple weeks before you see them, but yeah, those are coming up. Those are two big ones. And then look, I know Creighton's very Jacqueline Hyde this year. Going to Creighton's
But
never
they're at
easy
home.
for them
That's going to
too.
be a tough
So
one. You
yeah,
got Butler
on
on the
Saturday
road too,
night.
so things are going to get tough. Things are going to get tougher.
Yeah,
They got a little breather with Xavier at home, and I'll be at that game. But yeah, things are going to get tough after Tuesday because yeah, tough will be tough on Saturday too. But yeah, things are getting tougher. Going to Creighton, going to the Garden, going to Butler, who's played pretty, who's not terrible. So yeah, so things are getting a little tougher for UConn going forward.
yeah. Yeah, they will. It's a little bit backloaded, but it's still a team where they should go 17-3, 18-2. And you hope this week off does them a lot of good this week. And I don't really didn't sound too concerned about anything. So I'll take him at his word with that. And because he doesn't want the fan base to nitpick, but I get it. You're 18-1, but there's some concerns right now. And the last thing is too, they don't have that kill switch that team 2 years ago did. But
They
again,
don't. They don't. They don't. They
yeah,
don't have that one. They don't have that Tristan Newton that they had 2 years ago. They don't have that. This is
no,
more similar to the 20. And Hurley said it. This is more similar to the 2023 team than it is to the 2024
yeah.
team. Even though the record is better with this team than the 23 team, they just played in a much tougher Big East.
Yeah, they did, and that team in January kind of struggled there for a little bit, and yeah, they were figured it out by the end of the year, of course, and they want to roll. So yeah, I think this team has the potential to do it. They just got to put all the pieces together, and hopefully the week off does it for them. And yeah, because this team has it, but team has it, but Demari's been good, and yeah, Bones has been good, but yeah, now it's just they got to get Solo going, and hopefully that starts on Saturday.
It has to. It has to. It definitely has to. That'll wrap it up for this week. This edition of Sports Talk with RJ. But we'll be back next week talking about recapping the conference championship games, talking about UConn's matchup in Providence, and giving you any baseball news or NBA news that comes our way. Have a great weekend, everyone.